Order 2:36 p.m. We have a roll call.
Authority members: Draymond.
Here.
Incy.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Brazian.
Here.
Quintero. Here. Yusefian. Chairman Weaver.
Here. And we have a report.
The agenda for the January 29, 2008 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, January 24, 2008 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. What is next?
Next is approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
This is stand approved as submitted. Next, please.
Next is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the Housing Authority may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the Executive Director for investigation and report.
I think I have one card. Herbert Milano.
Good afternoon, Councilman Weaver, members of the Housing Authority, and city staff. My name is Herbert Milano. Last week I've made a short presentation with regard to my suggestion that the City Council and this authority take a look at the status of the various different organizations that are being supported through the CDBG funds, especially those organizations that may be having difficulty either collecting, providing information, or the general sustainability of their organization. And I bring this up again this week because from what I read in the paper, it appears that we do not have a funding for the homeless shelter this year, if what I read is correct. And I figured if we're going to have a safety net at all in society, it should be for those families who are basically homeless. From some estimates, I've heard that the number of homeless families that exist, either women with children and so forth, something like over 30%. I can't remember the actual statistic, but it was quite astonishing as just to how many there are. And so one of the issues that was brought up in the paper, I think it was in the Glendale News Press, was that a lot of the information came to the Housing Authority or to you as a surprise, basically that the request for funding was not expected. I've wondered if that particular problem that we have with organizations, nonprofits, providing accurate and timely information, providing their justification of their expenses, if these organizations continue to have that type of difficulty assessing and analyzing their administrative functions, whether the city should take on a role of being more of an assistance to them rather than solely being in a position of auditing the programs. I think it's, from the experience that I had several years ago when I was looking at the youth programs, I think I mentioned to you that the most common frailty that I found in these organizations was that they did not have continuity of administrators or capable administrators. If they hired someone who was, let's say, an MBA student, he was probably between jobs until they got something a little bit more steady, or they were there for only 3 months or only 6 months. But the most typical thing that I found as I called on them to find out how sustainable their programs were was that they did not keep or maintain adequate administrative staff to provide and collect the information needed in order to provide it to the Housing Authority and the CDBG group. And I think that if we take a proactive approach, we might be able to truly understand where they really where the needs really are, where the deficiencies are, so that then we can make recommendations as to the type of funding that these organizations need so that they can actually provide a sustainable environment for the people that they're helping out. And so I would like to ask a question and the question is the city going to provide sufficient monies for the homeless shelter, especially as it extends beyond the month of March of this year? Thanks.
Okay, we have no starter.
Well, just very quickly, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, members of the Housing Authority and City Council, the news press article mostly quoted Burbank council members and Burbank staff about their concern over the way in which the cost gap was communicated by the rescue mission about the cold weather shelter. And interestingly enough, it was a communication by Mr. Golonsky, at least what I read in the news press, further clarifying his proposal to supplement the services, not for the purpose of extending the cold weather shelter, but for the purpose of supplementing services and going beyond what the rescue mission provides. Just coincidentally, Mr. Golonsky and Burbank staff is over here in Glendale today taking a tour of our homeless facilities and programs, because, as you know, we spend $2.3 million a year on homeless programs throughout the entire continuum of care, one relatively small piece of which is the cold weather shelter, which is really for the purpose of providing, what'd you term it, Madeline?
Hypothermia prevention.
Hypothermia protection for the hardcore homeless, those who are the hardest to reach. And when Mr. Golonsky extended his well-meaning proposal to contribute, at the time, $20,000 if we'd matched that, I spoke with him and suggested that before that go any further, he come over and get a true sense of the nature, extent, degree to which we attempt to address homeless issues, so he can get a better sense of the full continuum of care, the full population of homeless that go way beyond just those served by the cold weather shelter.
How many?
And that's actually happening today.
How many years have we provided that
Oh, gosh.
hypothermia care?
Madeline, no?
Over 10 years, we provided.
And how much has Burbank contributed to that effort?
Well, up until now, they haven't contributed
A
anything.
penny. Now that it's theirs, they want us to contribute to theirs? Is that the idea?
In all fairness, Mr. Weaver, that was why I encouraged Mr. Golonsky to come over and get a sense. It's not about what they do, what we do, and who hasn't done anything in my mind. Frankly, it is great that they are now engaging in the issue. We'd like them to be a partner, frankly, in our programs, because I would guess in the same way that they've sort of done a survey of the homeless in Burbank to find out how many of those homeless call Glendale their home. Well, we've been serving the same homeless population for years and years, and I suspect that the same proportion probably call Burbank their home. It's a good opportunity for Burbank to engage in this issue. I think we welcome that. And it was nice of Mr. Golonsky and their staff. They've got some key staff over here today taking a complete tour of our facilities and programs. And it's enlightening that they're engaging in this because we could certainly use all the help we can get. But this issue of homeless and the $10,000 that I understand it's down to is not I think, as Mr. Milano has construed it to be. It's much more complex than that. And as I've noted to Burbank, and we can take a great deal of pride in, we commit tremendous amount of funding and services along with the consortium here in Glendale. I think their estimate is over $400,000 of in-kind services they provide. So there's a tremendous amount of resources and attention being given to the homeless problem.
That's what I was trying to get out, because
Right.
it very well be interpreted from that article that we're the bad guys in the block, we're not doing our share, where we've done way more, in my opinion, our share than
I've always felt
cities.
you all can be tremendously proud of the effort and commitment you've made to the homeless.
I'm glad that Dave was over here. Steve Seffian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madeline, question. Do we have you heard anything from any of the nonprofit organizations that they're having some challenges? Apparently, Mr. Milano was saying there are some organizations that they're having some problems due to economy, slowdown, and so on and so forth. Has any of them come to us? I mean, I know they're probably going to Jess Duran or you. They haven't come to me, but...
Mr. Chair, members of the Housing Authority, the nature of nonprofits, particularly social service nonprofits, is they're always challenged to raise funds. And they are challenged in terms of administration. But I will say that we provide a lot of technical assistance to the nonprofits. We do our monitoring at least once a year. We do a thorough fiscal program monitoring, and when we identify issues, we give them technical assistance to help them improve their systems, and so many of them have done that. But I think the nature of nonprofit is it's always a challenge because they're always having to hustle for additional funding.
I think one thing that Mr. Milano raised last week, which I think is a very good one, is the issue of the bureaucracy, how to run a bureaucracy to an extent. I know we do have programs for first-time home buyers, and we do have classes for people how to qualify for loans and what you do and what you don't do and so on and so forth. I hope you give some thoughts to possibly holding similar classes for nonprofits about how to run an organization, what are some of the systems that you need to put in place, so this way you can keep track of money and so on and so forth. Some organizational skills type of classes may be offered once a year or twice a year, so organizations can take advantage of that and learn how to manage their money better or how to organize properly so they can deal with some of the bureaucratic issue.
If you'd look into that, Madeline.
Great idea.
We appreciate it.
Sure, no, that's a very good
That'll be
idea.
Thank
very
you.
helpful.
More communication.
Let's just not call it how to run a bureaucracy.
Right, right, don't call that. You'll have nobody coming.
Or
I think that's a great idea.
or communications is closed. What is next, please?
Next is authority member or staff comments.
Seeing none,
Move to adjourn.
stand adjourned at 2:47 PM.
Okay, why don't we do the joint meeting and then finish up with redevelopment? We can get Lauren and Mr. Mincy out of here.
The joint?
We'll do the joint. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the joint public meeting of the Glendale City Council.